Let's head to Canberra now. We'll get all the latest on budget night.
The 2020 budget was supposed to be the crowning glory of the coalition returning the nation to surplus. Instead, today's budget will go down as amongst our darkest economic days. The last time our budget was in such pain was the end of the Second World War. Peace and prosperity coming at a cost.
Australia joined her allies in an outburst of rejoicing.
Fast forward 75 years and Josh Frydenberg has handed down his blueprint to revive jobs. The headline, a $200 billion deficit and a national debt topping $1 trillion, pushing our debt ceiling to staggering peacetime heights.
The Australian people and the Australian economy is going through a pretty challenging time.
Labor in Parliament mocking the government's failed Back in Black campaign from last year.
What marking will be on the Prime Minister's mug this year?
I won't indulge the juvenile antics of the opposition, Mr. Speaker.
Still bitter over criticism it received during the GFC.
The government's got to explain why a debt burden of $200 billion is a crisis and a disaster, but $1 trillion is no problem.
During the global financial crisis, the global economy fell by 0.1%. So what our government is facing is 45 times more severe.
Much of the budget already leaked. It will include an apprentice wage subsidy to assist youth, the expansion of the home loan deposit scheme, billions for infrastructure and manufacturing, and more money for pensioners. The big question, income tax cuts. It's expected the coalition's tax plan will be fast-tracked. Cuts scheduled for 2022, brought forward and backdated to July, putting $1,000 in the pockets of those earning between $45,000 and $90,000. More than $2,500 in the pockets for those earning up to $120,000. The controversial Stage 3 of the tax plan expected to remain as is, slated to come into effect in 2024. Up north in Queensland, and the election has finally begun, with the state government going into caretaker mode.
Good morning, Premier. How are you feeling?
Beautiful day in Queensland.
YouGov poll showing if the election was held today, Labor would win comfortably. The ALP up 4 points, the LNP down 4. Anastasia Palaszczuk, the more popular leader. The LNP suffering a swing away from it on the Gold and Sunshine Coasts. Labor worried about holding onto seats in central and north Queensland.
Well, I think Queenslanders want stability.
What I am aiming for each and every day is to gain the trust of the Queensland voters.
One Nation denying it's on the nose.
Prior to elections, they do this to One Nation every time. They say that we're polling poorly, so it's putting a message to people, oh, look, don't waste your vote with One Nation, they're not going to go anywhere.
Voters, though, won't know the true state of the coffers, with its budget delayed until after the election. Victoria has recorded 1 new death and 15 more coronavirus cases as it grapples with community transmission. The Chadstone shopping centre outbreak growing to 28 cases. Meanwhile, new Victorian Greens Senator Lydia Thorpe has appeared in Parliament carrying a stick with burnt lines featuring Aboriginal deaths in custody, declaring it's not easy to swear allegiance to the Crown and people who've caused harm to Indigenous Australians. The Daily Telegraph reports ISIS is increasingly using family ties and the courts to combat moves to keep the terror group out of the nation. A Melbourne uni student, a regional office worker, a Sydney Catholic churchgoer, even a man found to have provided logistic support to a 9/11 US attack affiliate are allegedly amongst those fighting cancellation of their visas and citizenship. Cleared Cardinal George Pell is back in the media for unexpected reasons, with unsubstantiated claims a religious rival paid bribes to influence the sexual assault case against the cleric. The legal team who defended Cardinal Pell want the allegations thoroughly investigated. An Italian newspaper alleging the Australians' reformist agenda at the Vatican threatened to expose corruption committed by a rival. And despite having coronavirus, Donald Trump has officially left hospital and returned to work at the White House. A carefully crafted video showing the president returning home. Donald Trump telling people that when it comes to the virus,
don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world.
Some 213,000 people have so far died of the disease in the United States. Jonathan Lee, for Sky News Canberra.
Well, not long now before the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, will walk into the House of Representatives tonight to deliver his 2020 budget speech, the government's first speech or first budget since its upset election win in May last year. And he'll be setting out the coalition's agenda to pull the nation out of the first recession in almost 30 years.
In tonight's budget, I will lay out our economic recovery plan to rebuild the Australian economy and secure Australia's future. Our plan will create jobs.